Recently, I've had a lot more coaches reaching out to me asking about how they can use Notion in their coaching business. Now, this answer varies greatly depending on your individual needs. But what I thought we could do today is go ahead and build out a starter coaching template. That way, you know how to build it and you can customize it to fit your needs. So, follow along, or if you want quick access to the template, I'll include a link in the description below. Now, this template is run off of two databases. The first one is our clients database, where we can keep track of all of our coaching clients and store their important information. The second one is a meetings database, where we can keep track of all of our coaching calls and meeting notes. So we're going to start by building out both of those databases, then we'll interlink the two. We'll create some database templates so that everything is set up for you and you don't have to put together everything each and every time you sign a new client. And then we're going to finish off by creating a single page so that you can manage everything in one space. So to begin, come over to your sidebar and we're going to add a new page and we're going to call this coaching client. Add new, select table, and over on the right here, select new database. Now you can choose to add an icon, cover, or description if you want. I'm just going to add an icon for now. We'll change it out to something more relevant. We'll do this one. And on the database itself, you can change the view names as well. So we'll click in, we'll rename this. I'm going to rename this add new client. Again, I could change the icon here to something more relevant. And you can do the same with properties too. So I can click in here, I could change this to client name. I can change this icon here to something else. Perfect. And these are just little aesthetic things, but it does make your workspace a little bit more friendly and enjoyable to use. Now on this property, we need our client name, but we can delete this tags property. We don't need it. So to click in, just delete property. And in its place, move this along, we'll add a new one. And this time I'm going to select files and media, and I'm going to name this profile pic. Again, I'll change the icon here. Perfect. We'll add another property. This time I'm going to choose status, and I'm going to change these labels out by clicking in. So I'll change this to upcoming. Maybe I make this purple. In progress, I'm going to change to active, and remember to customize this to your preferences. And then complete, I'm going to change this to say complete, and I'm going to add a new option here that says archived to. Now to create some variation, I'm going to change the color of this to light gray. And the final property I want to add for now is a timeline, so we know when we're working with clients. So I'll come over to the dates property. I'm going to name this timeline. And there we have it. Now, when you're creating these properties, it sometimes adds options here. You can just click to select all of them and hit the bin to delete them. But we are going to add an example here. So we'll click in, we'll do our good old Levi tape, and then we'll select profile picture. We're going to upload a profile picture of Levi. We'll keep this to upcoming for now. And then under timeline, I'm going to do the 1st of August. I'm going to click this end date on, and I'm going to select the 31st of August, so a 4-week coaching program. Now, there's two ways you can use this property. You can toggle this off and change this label to start date, create a second property that's a date property as end date. It's really based on your preferences. I quite like having it in one property, so I just turn this on and put in the timeline that way. Now that's all the properties that we're going to add for now. Later we'll come back and we'll add an option so that you can see how much revenue that you've generated from each client and how many coaching calls you've had with them. But one thing I do want to do is create some alternate views of this exact same database. So to do that, click the plus icon next to this view here. This time over on the right, we're going to call this pipeline. Change the icon again. And you'll see here, I'm selecting board view. Now, under card preview, I want to change this to profile picture so that I've got that nice visual there. Card size is fine as medium. I'm grouping by status. I want to turn color columns on. Then I'm going to click off, click the 3 dots, go to properties and say, show me the timeline under these cards as well. And what's really nice about this board view is you can drag clients along. So again, if you wanted to come in here and add some more options such as onboarding, things like that, you could add that in there as well. So we've got add new client, our pipeline. I want to add 2 more views. I want one view where I see all of my active clients and one where I see all my completed projects. So we'll click the plus icon again. We'll call this one active clients. Change the icon again. This time I'm going to select gallery view. Again, I'm going to change the card preview to say show me the profile picture. I usually open pages in a side peek view. That means it opens up on the right and I can still see the database on the left here. But again, do what works for you. Click the 3 dots under properties. I want to show timeline again. And now what we need to do is apply a filter so that we're only seeing active clients. So you can either click filter at the top here, or you can click the 3 dots again, go to filter, and this time I'm going to say I want to apply a filter to the status. So only show me clients that are active. And you'll see now that Levi disappears. But if we go to pipeline and I drag her over to active, you'll see here she now appears. So that can be really helpful, creating different views for different purposes. Now, when it comes to completed projects, it's going to look exactly like this. We're just changing the status filter. So rather than adding a new view and configuring that all again, I'm just going to click on this view, duplicate it, change out the name. So I'm going to do completed. We'll change this to a check mark. And now everything remains the same, but under filter, I want to say, don't show me the clients that are active, show me clients that are complete. And again, Levi disappears, but if I drag her over here, you'll see here, she is now shown. So that's all we're going to do for this database for now. We're going to go ahead and add our meetings one. So again, come over to your sidebar, add a new page, and this time you're either going to call this meetings or coaching calls. So let's call this meetings. We'll do another table view here, new database again. And again, you can add icon, cover, and description. We'll just add icon. Go to icons. I'm going to search for meetings. This one's quite good. And then here, I'm going to click in, rename. I'll call this add new meeting. Change the icon here. Select this one. I'll click in here and I can change this if I want. So I'm going to call this meeting. I'll add an icon. And then I'm going to delete this tags property because again, I don't need it. I'm going to add a new property. This time I'm going to select date for the date of the meeting. So you can move these around. So sometimes I like to have the date first and then the meeting. Now we're going to connect this database to our coaching clients database. And what this will allow us to do is tag who this meeting is with. So it interconnects the 2 databases. To do this, click the plus icon. This time we're going to search for relation. Then we say, what do we want to connect this to? We want to connect it to our coaching clients. Toggle this to turn this on, which means it will add the relation on the coaching clients database as well. You can change the name here if you want. I'm just going to leave it as meetings. Add a relation. You'll see here it appears here. I might want to change this out. So maybe I want to just put client and change this icon here. Now what this does is it allows me to tag clients in a meeting. So if we went ahead and did an example now, we'll click in. Let's do the 1st of August. Now the format I usually use is the client name. So Levi Tate. And then I'll add the date. So I'll say August 1st, and you'll see here it shows, and I'll add that in, and it will go relative, so it'll say tomorrow, but as it approaches, it'll change to the actual date. Then I will click in, and I will tag my client, Levi Tate. Now, if I'm charging for this call, I want to add another property so I can see how much revenue I'm generating. So I'll click here. This time I'm going to select number. We'll call this revenue, and I usually do a little $sign. You can change this out too. So I'm going to do money. And then under number format, what you would do is you would choose your preferred currency here. So I'm going to select US dollars, but you do what works for you. Then at the bottom here where it says calculate, I'm going to change this to sum. And what this will allow me to do is see how much revenue I have generated from all of my coaching calls or meetings. I'm also going to add a status property to this one as well. So we'll do status, and this time I'm going to add another option that is cancelled so I can keep track of those. So we'll do red for that. Not started, we'll do as purple. In progress, we'll do as yellow, and then again, I want to change this to complete. And I can move this along if I wanted to as well. Again, I want to create some alternate views here. So I'm going to click the plus icon, and the first one's really simple. I'm just going to call this calendar. And I can search calendar, choose my preferred icon here. And I'm going to select the calendar view. And that way I can see all of my calendar and what I've got coming up as far as meetings go. Now you'll see here you can show by date and show calendar as month. You can change this out to week if you want. And again, I open pages in a side peek view typically. Now the next view I want to create is upcoming meetings. So I'm going to click the plus icon again. We'll name this upcoming meetings. And let's select a clock. There we go. And this time I'm going to make this a list view. Open pages in side peek, perfect. We'll click on properties, and I want to show the date and the client. Perfect. And now I want to apply a filter. So we'll go to the three dots, go to filter and say date. And you'll see here it says date is relative to the day. I want to change that. So I'll click the three dots and I'll say add to advanced filter. Move me over here, and I want to say date is on or after today. So that way I can see a list of all of my upcoming meetings. You can use as relative to this week, this month, or this year if you prefer. So use the option again that is best for you. So I'm going to do on or after today. Now the next view that I want to create is one where I can see all of the meetings I've had with a specific client. So to do that, I'm going to click the plus icon again. I'm going to name this client meetings. We'll change the icon again. And this time I'm going to select a board view. But instead of grouping by status, I'm going to click in here and say group by client. And where there's no client, I want to just hide those. So you'll see here now I've got a board view of just all of the meetings I've had with Levi. So again, as always, I can come into properties, I can choose status, I can show date, I can also move these around if I wanted to. And the other thing I can do is I can click to the top here, and where it says count all, I can change it to say show me how much revenue I've generated from Levi overall. So typically I would add the revenue in once I had invoiced and received payment. So let's just assume we have, we'll do it as $200. You'll see here now if I go to client meetings, this is shown as $200. If I was to add a new meeting, so we'll do Levi Tate, and this time we'll do it at August 8th. And we'll add the date in here. Again, we want to tag our client, and this time we'll do another $200. If I then go to client meetings, you'll see here it's now adding the sum up of all of the revenue. So this can be really, really helpful. Now, the final view that I want to create is any meetings that are overdue that were supposed to happen and didn't happen and don't have that cancelled option added. So here where we've got status, we do have an option for cancelled. I just want to see those that are overdue. So we'll click the plus icon again. This time I'm going to select overdue. We'll give this one a triangle, warning sign. And this time I'm going to create a list view. Side peek is fine. And then under properties, I want to see client and the date here. And now we want to apply a filter. So I'll click these three dots, select filter. I want to say where the date, three dots, add to advanced filter. I want to say the start date is on or before today. You could also say just before today, but I like is on or before today. And the status is not complete. And here you could also say it's not complete or cancelled. And that way I'm going to see a view of any meetings that are overdue that I need to book in again and change the date of. Now we have your meetings database. Let's go ahead and create a database template so that you're not having to pre-populate each page each and every time you have a call. So to do that, click the drop down next to new, add a new template here. We'll open this up in full view. We'll call this new meeting. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do /H2. I normally do, but you can do H1 if you want. I'm going to call this meeting notes. I usually add a divider, so I just add a line here. Now instead of /, you can also just click the plus icon here. So I'm going to search for 2 columns just now. And here is where I'm going to keep our basic notes. And then over here on the right, I'm going to add a video. So that if I am uploading my video or I want to link to the video of my meeting, I can do so here. Now this looks a little bit cramped, so I can always come up to the top right hand corner and make it full width. Now I have all that space to work with, which is great. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a spacer down so I make sure that I'm back to 1 column here. I want to have a note of the summary of the call and my action steps. So I'm going to do again another H2 here. This time I'm going to do summary. And I can always just copy and paste this or hit duplicate. And the other way I can create columns is to just drag it side by side. So if I drag this summary next to each other, I can change this out to action items. And maybe I add a divider under these 2 as well. Now there's a neat little trick in Notion if you're using Notion AI where you could do /ask AI and you can scroll down to insert AI block. So the first one is summary and the second one is action item. So / again, start typing ask AI. We'll scroll down to the bottom, do action items. And here, if you upload the video and copy in the transcript or just write in your meeting notes and you're using Notion AI, you can click generate on each of these buttons. And what that will do is it will automatically create a summary for you and your next action steps. Now the final thing I want to do on this page is add a button so that I can mark it as complete. Now you can just come up here and say, okay, this meeting is complete, but I wanted to show you how this works. So we're going to come down here, we're going to do /, start typing button here. And we're going to edit pages in. And here where it says edit pages in, select database, we're going to say this page and mark the status as complete. So when this button is clicked, it's going to mark this meeting as complete. So we'll call this meeting complete. We'll make it a little check mark again. This time we'll make it green. And you'll see here, just to show you, if we click this, it now changes to complete. Now by default, you want to make sure this is not started because we are in the template itself. And anything that you build in here, every time you apply it, it's going to apply the same way. You can add a cover here or an icon if you want to. I don't think toilet roll is a good one for this. So let's go ahead and change this to maybe this one or maybe this one. We'll do this one here, and once you're done you can click back out. Now if you see this drop down, you'll see here your template is shown, and if you want to make it a default you can by just putting set as default. I usually leave it empty because what I can do is I can open up my next meeting. You'll see it open up in a side view. Let's make it full view, and if I click to apply this new template now, you'll see here it automatically adds that in for me. So database templates can be really useful. What's great is if you have different types of calls. So you have the initial call, maybe you're going through a questionnaire, a brand questionnaire. You can add that as a new template and apply that to that first meeting. Or if you have an offboarding call, do the same thing. Now, if we go back to our coaching clients and we go on this first tab, add new client, you'll see our meetings is now shown here. And we're showing all of our meetings that are tagged with Levi. So I could change this. So I'm going to change the icon here again. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hide this property. It's still there. It still exists. I haven't deleted it. It's just that if I have a lot of calls, this is going to get really big, really fast. So instead, I'm just going to hide it in view. So it's still there, just hidden. But what I can do now that the two are connected is I can add some more properties. So I'm going to click the plus icon. And this time I'm going to select roll up. And I'm going to select meetings. So I want to pull from my meetings database. And this time under property, I want to see revenue and show me the sum of all of the revenue. So now this property is all of the revenue that I have generated from calls with Levi, as you can see here. And again, I can do sum to see the full sum of that. And the final property we're going to add here is a way to track all the meetings that we've had with Levi. So I'll click plus icon again. Again, we're looking for a roll up. This time we'll say meetings complete. We'll change the icon here, relate it to our meetings tab. This time I'm going to do status and count per group, and this time I'm going to select complete. So now we can see we've got 2 meetings, but none of them have been complete. So now we have a lot more information on our coaching clients. Final thing we want to do before we move on to building out the page itself is to just add a database template in here too. So we'll click the drop down next to new, add new template. We'll open this up in full view. We'll call this new client. Add an icon here. And again, I'm going to come up to the top here, do full view to give us more space. I'm going to do 2 columns. So we'll search for columns 2. Here, I'm going to do H2, put background info. And underneath that, I'm just going to do a line, insert info here. And then on the right, I'm going to do a call out. I'm going to pull this space in just to give it some more space. We'll do a line here. I'm going to click on the 6 dots to change this color to make it default. It's a little bit cleaner, I find. Change the icon here. And then I'm just going to call this contact info. And this way I can store important information on clients. I might add this space above. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom here. I'm going to add another H2. We'll call this important notes and reminders. I'm just going to copy this block so I don't have to configure it all again. I will drag it down underneath. We'll say notes. Make this bold. Change the icon here to something related. This works. Take this information out here. And again, you don't need to do it in the call out. I just think it looks kind of nice. It keeps everything stored. And then the final thing I'm going to do is H2. This is where it gets interesting. I'm going to do meetings and meeting notes because our notes are in there. And what I can do now is I can do a / search for a linked view of the database. I'm going to select meetings and I can select new meetings. So I'm going to name this just all meetings. And we can do this as a list view. Under filter, I'm going to say the client is this new client. So I'm saying only show me meetings relating to the client mentioned in this page. And you can pull in different views here and apply different filters. So you can say upcoming meetings, cancelled meetings, anything like that. That's what I've included in the template link below. But all you have to do is make sure the filter is this new client only. So now that we've done that, we can come back out, and if we open up Levi here, make this a full view, click new client to apply that template. You'll see here we've now got all of that information stored. You can click the 6 dots to move this around, so you could do meetings. You can also make this smaller, so click the 6 dots, show as minimal, and it'll just show down here, and that just makes it a little bit neater if you want. And you'll see here we've got all of that information stored, but you'll see here now the meetings are shown because we've applied that filter. So that's another great use of database templates. So now that we have that all set up, we've got our coaching clients database, our meetings template. Let's go ahead and build out a page to manage all of it. So again, we're going to come to the sidebar, add new page. This time we'll call it coaching in Notion. We can add a cover if we want, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll change it out. I'm going to upload one. We can reposition this if we want. I can also add an icon here, so I'm going to upload a custom icon this time. And this is a page where I tend to make things a little bit more aesthetic because this is a page we're going to be using every day. So again, come up to the top right hand corner, do full width, enter. I'm going to add a divider here. And I always like to break the page down into different sections based on how I might be using it. So in this case, we're going to do manage clients, upcoming meetings, and then our meeting notes. So here we'll do H2. I usually start this way. So we'll do O1, manage clients, add a divider, and I'm just going to do / linked view. And this time I want to see my coaching clients. So again, I want to be able to add a new client. Perfect, it pulls in exactly as I like. Click the 3 dots to hide the database title. I'm going to add another view in here, same one, but again, I want to see my pipeline. Again, I'll hide this title to make it a bit neater. And again, we'll do the same thing. This time we want to see active clients, and then another one where we see completed. Then I can come down underneath, do another H2. This time I'm going to do upcoming meeting, this linked view. This time I'm going to select meetings. And you'll see here, you can add them here. So we could do add new meeting, or you could change this to plan meeting if you wanted to. So you can change the name of the view on different pages. It doesn't change the original source. So this little arrow here is what's telling you it's linked. If you adjust any of the properties, it will impact the database everywhere. But in terms of renaming or changing the icons up here, you can do that. So we'll add new meeting, and we'll also do one for upcoming meetings. So we'll select that. So you'll see by pre-configuring it, when we set up the database, it's really easy to pull in the view. The other one I'm going to pull in is a calendar view. And there we go. Move it back to this one for now. Hit enter, H2. This time I might call this one client notes. And what I'm going to do is / a linked view. And again, I'm going to select meetings. And instead, this time I'm going to select client meetings. And now I can see that breakdown of all of my clients. So now I can manage everything in a single space. You can absolutely customize this, make it a little bit neater, add some images. You can put things in callouts, which is something I do quite often, and I've shown you how to do that within the database templates. But what's great about this is we've pulled in all of the views. So we've got both databases, and everything is broken down based on what we need to do. We can always click down and we can still access these databases any point in time. Now, I also like to store all of the back-end databases together so that everything that runs this page is in one place. So we can just do back-end, and all we have to do is drag this in. The other thing you can do is click the three dots, move to, and then select Coaching in Notion and drag it in that way as well. If you want to change this to dark mode, you can do that by going to Settings and Members, going to My Notifications and Settings, My Settings, and then changing it to dark. Some people prefer this look. And if we close the sidebar out, and as you can see, you now have a functioning template for managing your coaching in Notion. Now this is bare bones, but you can absolutely customize and build on it. And once again, if you want to skip the step of building it out, you can always click the link in the description and access it right away. I hope you found that useful. Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already signed up for your free Notion starter kit, head on over to chloeforbeskk.com/freebies. There's 20 free Notion starter templates there waiting for you.